Oh, how are we, lads?
That's the catchphrase of the year.
Righto. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am Nick from Australia. Welcome to another live stream on this fantastic Friday night. Tonight I am joined by one of the GOATs, Entertain House. Mate, thanks for coming on tonight. We're going to be ranking the NRL coaches, mate. Thanks for coming on, bro.
No worries. I heard the catchphrase of the year just then, so I just wanted to wish you congratulations on that one.
Well, rugby league history is a genius. We all know his award night, how good it was. Everyone cleaned up. You won a few awards, I believe. I won about 4 awards. We all cleaned up at the award night.
Yeah, back-to-back game day vlog of the year, and Let's Talk Footy, which is now kind of called the EH show, picked up some awards. Speaking of, I'll put a little announcement on here. I think I told you earlier, I've got Peter Wynn. Peter Wynn,
Yes.
former Eel, will be coming on the channel shortly, so keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And to be honest with you, I can't see you losing the game day vlog of the year anytime soon. You're probably the $1.10 favorite to go back-to-back next year. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Yeah, I had a good night at the awards. I was dressed up in my suit and tie. I was enjoying myself. I had a couple of Cokes. I had some Dominoes there. It was a good night, and it was good to win some awards. 4 awards. Very honoured.
I actually had to watch it after. I was at the movies watching Halloween Kills. I'll tell you what, guys, save your fucking money. It was awful.
Fucking Halloween. Good God. Anyway, hello to the chat. I can see the chat at the moment. There's a few people in here at the moment. We've got about 10 people watching the stream at the moment. I'm sure there'll be more people in here as the stream goes on. But what we're going to be doing tonight, we're going to be ranking the NRL coaches from the 2021 NRL season. Most of the coaches on the screen here are up to date. I think maybe one of them. I think John Morris is the only one that's out of date, really. We're going to use John Morris probably as Josh Hannay, I think. But outside of that, I think everyone else is pretty much in order. But Entertain House, I reckon it's time we should just get into it, mate.
Let's get straight into it.
So we've got the list, guys. We've got the elite coaches who will obviously go up here. The quality coaches will go in there. The decent coaches go in the middle. Very average coaches go here, and the terrible coaches go straight down the bottom. Well, let's start off with a bang, mate. Let's start off with your boys. The Parramatta Eels coach, Brad Arthur. Where would you put him on this list?
I think the thing about the Eels is that they are starting to maintain that consistency of finals. And look, they haven't made a prelim or a grand final, which means you can't put them near elite. I really want to put them into the low end of quality, but I feel like if you're going to go off the season that we had, even though it was good towards the end of the year, the signings that were made by Brad Arthur, like Papali'i and things, were great. It's very between decent to quality for me. I'm probably going to be that lower end of quality. I can't put it anywhere near elite. I think he's a bit better than decent just because he's gotten himself a contract again. He's gotten the best out of players who their career was over, like Bryce Cartwright. I even said, why are we signing him? Or Papali'i, what are we doing? But he gets the best out of players. So I'll put a lot of people above him, but let's put him in quality.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think quality. I mean, if you're going to get a team to the finals for a couple of years in a row, and considering the situation this year where everyone had to move to Queensland, and it was at the point where I'm like, all right, all the New South Wales teams, everyone's going up to Queensland. Some teams might just fall off a cliff because of the move, but Brad Arthur did a pretty good job. Yeah, Parramatta did have a couple of really bad weeks there, and everyone was writing them off, including myself. But they ended up grinding it out and did pretty well. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think Brad Arthur's in quality. I think he's a quality coach. I don't think he's anything higher or anything lower. He knows how to get his team that, to the finals. But I just wonder if he can get them to that next level. I guess we'll find out in the years to come. But as of right now and as of this year, Brad Arthur is definitely a quality coach. There's no doubt about it. Let's move on to the next coach. Let's go to the Broncos. Kevin Walters, first year as head coach. Broncos finished 14th. They had a terrible 15 weeks of the start of the year. Then that played pretty well at the back end of the year. But I'm still not going to give Kevin Walters a pass mark, mate. Where would you have Kevin Walters?
Yeah, I'm going to put Kevin Walters in the very average coach. I don't think he's a terrible coach. He's definitely recruited very well for 2022, so we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But I think the back half of the season was really good for the Broncos. That you could say terrible based on the start, but I feel like he's still a player, a coach who's got a lot to offer. We've also seen him coach the Maroons, obviously, so he's had that coaching experience, but it's a very average coach at the moment for mine in Kevin Walters.
Yeah, I think we're both going to agree. Very average coach. If the Broncos had made the top 8, he probably would have went in decent. I don't think he's decent yet. I still have my doubts over Kevin Walters as a coach. I think he's still learning, the day-to-day operations as a head coach. It's going to take time for him to be a quality coach. If the Broncos make the top 8 next year, it doesn't mean he's a quality coach straight away. It's going to take time. But at the moment, he's average. I wouldn't put him in terrible by any means. If Broncos got the wooden spoon, then I think maybe he would have went in terrible. But, yeah, he's average at the moment. But, like you said, 2022, he's recruited a lot of good players. Reynolds, Capewell, Brenko Lee. Who else they bought? They bought a lot of players. So, at the moment, I think Kevin Walters is a very average coach, but he's definitely on the improvement, you would think. Let's go to the Panthers, the reigning defending premiers, the 2021 premiers, the Penrith Panthers. Ivan Cleary. Now, Ivan Cleary's never really been ranked as a top 2, top 3 coach in the game. Winning a premiership this year with the Panthers. His ranking probably goes up a little bit higher now. Where would you have Ivan Cleary, bro?
I actually think you'd have to put him in elite. Just the fact that the Penrith Panthers have now not only delivered a premiership, but also a season with a minor premiership. They've been so dominant for that 2-year period. I can understand why people would be putting him under quality, but if you're going to put someone like Brad Arthur there, I feel like you've got to put... You mentioned that he hasn't been really talked about in regards to being the best coach in recent years. But if we're going off this season, especially with the injuries and what he was able to do and achieve, even when everyone said that Penrith were written off in the finals, the coaching style of Ivan Cleary and his father and son combination really worked. So I'm going elite coach for Ivan.
I think he's probably at the bottom end of the lead. I don't think he's the best coach in the game or anything like that. I don't think he's in the top 2. I think he's in the top 4, top 5 coaches in the game. Obviously, winning a premiership this year probably puts him in the elite. If he doesn't win the premiership this year, he probably ends up at the top end of quality for mine. But because the Panthers won the premiership, you've got to respect that. And he's been coaching a fair while, Ivan Cleary. He's been coaching for a long time, and he was one of the coaches that hadn't won a premiership, and he's finally done that. So I think you got to respect him and put him in the elite. And I'm with you, mate. I'm with you, mate. In the finals, when South beat them the first week, everyone thought they were gone. And then defensive mentality, and they won the comp on the back of their defense. So Ivan Cleary deserves a lot of praise for that. So I think bottom end of elite somewhere. But what is it? To be honest, I don't like Ivan Cleary. I think he's a bit of a wanker, but he's a good coach, and you got to respect that.
Absolutely.
Right. Let's go to a coach under a lot of pressure going into next year. I thought he was going to get the sack, but he ended up surviving. Michael Mcguire. Now, Madge is an interesting one. He won a premiership in 2014, which was a fair while ago now. Hasn't really done anything since he's gone to the West Tigers. I know the salary cap and the roster hasn't been all his, but he has had a bit of time there to do stuff. And Michael Mcguire, I kind of feel sorry for him after what's happened at the Tigers. But where would you have Madge on this list?
I want to put Madge in very average coach, but I can't do it. And the reason why is we saw the documentary. We saw that he does try as a coach in the background, but the players talk smack about him. The players are saying that there's issues involving around that. Joey Leilua being one of the main ones. There you go. I mentioned him. I want to put him in very average, but when the Tigers are conceding 66 points and regularly 50 points scored against them, some very bad points, and they're not changing their roster when they need to, which is the coach's position, I can't put him in very average. So, unfortunately, I think there's two coaches I'll be putting here tonight, but I'm going to put Michael Mcguire as a terrible coach.
Ouch. West Tigers fans probably about to hit the dislike button now. They won't be happy about that. I think Champa Leagues, All Out Champa, if he's watching this, he'd be pretty angry about that. But look, Madge, I kind of feel for him. It's been tough, but here's the thing. I've been saying it for years, and I'll continue to say it until something happens. Luke Brooks, I know the pressure goes on the halfback. He's been at the Tigers since 2013 when he debuted. Next year, we're going into 2022. Madge has been at the Tigers since, 2017, I think? 17, 18. And he's still got Luke Brooks there. He's had chances to move him on and go in a different direction, but Brooks is still there, and I think he's part of the problem along with Michael Mcguire. Should Madge get the sack? I don't know, but I'm probably going to have to agree with you, man. I think he is a terrible coach after this year. I know he's had a decent coaching career, but basing it off this year, man, the Tigers, I know everyone had him for the wooden spoon, but they still finished in the bottom four. They had a shit year, and he's got to go into terrible. He has to. Unfortunately for Madge, I like Madge. I think he goes hard, but when Joey Leilua is talking shit about him, something's not right. But Joey Leilua talks shit about anybody, to be fair. So, sorry, Madge, but he's going into terrible. Righto, let's go on to a coach that I think had a pretty underrated season. The Dragons head coach, Anthony Griffin. Now, at the halfway mark, the Dragons were in 7th position on the ladder. They were looking good. Things were going well for the Red V. The Dragons obviously had the barbecue incident. They managed to miss the top 8 by 2 bloody games. Now, if they don't have the barbecue incident, I believe the Dragons probably sneak into the top 8 because all they've had to do is win 2 games out of their last 12. I think Anthony Griffin's going in the decent category. What do you reckon, Hayden?
I agree with you. I think next year he might be in that very average, just the way his recruiting seems very off. But I thought there were a few decent signings for the Dragons, a few young blokes who really showed their potential. The right players have been picked. He's also coached other clubs before. But if we're purely going off 2021, everyone expected a horrible year from the Dragons. And even though they did miss out on finals, I think, where did they finish? 12th, I believe, in the
11th.
season.
11th.
There you go. Yeah, I think they had pretty underrated year, as you mentioned there. So I think we've got pretty nail on the head with Anthony Griffin there. And we've now got one coach in every category.
Yeah, I just realised that as well. That's fucking hilarious. Anthony Griffin, I think he's a very strong coach, man. I think I'm with you. He definitely goes in the decent category off this year, but he knows how to get the best out of players. I mean, have a look at Ben Hunt. He made Ben Hunt captain, and everyone went, that's a bad idea, and it ended up being a brilliant idea. He got rid of Cameron McGuinness and brought in McCulloch. McCulloch did a great job this year. Jack DeBellin came back after 2.5 years out, and it took him about 3 or 4 games, and DeBellin was at his best straight away. And didn't take long to get back into good form.
About Tyrell Sloan and Tatu
Amon. Jack Bird was able to stay fit. He played awesome, Jack Bird. I know they've lost a few players going into next year, and they've recruited a lot of players, but out of all the teams that just missed out on finals next year, if I had to give an early tip, the Dragons for me are very exciting going into next year. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what the Dragons do next year. I know we can't talk about it now because they missed the finals, but for mine, they were making the 8 for mine before the barbecue. I know they were falling off a little bit. They were in the 8, man. They would have been over the Titans if they didn't have the barbecue. I have no doubt. I'm so confident in saying that. I would have threw money on it. But they just missed out. Everyone had them for the wooden spoon. They ended up finishing 2 games outside the top 8. Griffin he did a good job. So we'll put him in decent. I'm looking forward to the Dragons next year. I'm interested to see what they do. Let's go to a coach that had a terrible year. Cowboys head coach, my boys, Todd Payton. What do you reckon, Hayden? Where's he going?
Well, you're not wrong. He had a terrible year. This is very tricky because throughout the 2020 season, he was absolutely outstanding in what he did for New Zealand Warriors. I would probably put him under decent
Yeah,
based on last year. But if we're going off this year,
good lord.
look, at one point, the Cowboys were fighting for that top 8 spot. They then went on a 11-game losing streak. So,
Oh, it was bad.
shit, it's very hard to. I think I'm going to put him in very average, but I wouldn't stop you if you said terrible. So I'm going to say very average.
I'm going to put him in terrible because he came in at the start of 2020. What was it? 2021. Todd Payton, right? He had a pretty decent roster. The Cowboys roster at the start of the year wasn't too bad. I thought they would have been around that 7 to 12 spot. And he comes in and the Cowboys come 15th. And the part that makes me sick the most, in round 14, the Cowboys were 6 wins, 8 losses. They were in 8th spot. They were looking like they were going to play finals. They changed their halfback for the 5th time, and then they just fell off a cliff. The Cowboys, for mine, I know they're my team, and I might sound a little bit biased here. They were extremely disappointing. They should have been around that top 8. When it's round 14, it's the halfway mark, and you're 6 wins, 8 losses. You should not fall off a cliff and come 15th. That is just not good enough. And this is NRL. This is not fucking reserve grade football. Can't be doing that. So disappointing. And they had a good advantage. They were playing in Queensland a lot with the whole COVID situation. It can't play in New South Wales. They had everything going for them. Things just went bad. Look, I'm going to be brutally honest here. In my opinion, out of all the coaches here that we will rank, Todd Payton, for mine, is the worst coach of the year. He had a shocker. And the way he used Jason Taumalolo was also disgusting.
Yeah, he definitely didn't know how to use players out of their key positions. Got a few young guns out. Hylam Lukey,
Yes.
thought he had an outstanding season.
Griffin, Name, Jeremiah, whatever his name is. I got some good kids. And I got to say this, because it's my team and I need to say this. Todd Payton's got 6 weeks next year. The Cowboys start the year 2-4 or 1-5. Give him the boot. I'm not putting up with another year of crap. So he's got to do better. Cowboys can't be going bad again next year. Got to be improving. Got to be. Let's move on to a team that had a really good year, probably overachieved a little bit. The Manly Seagulls head coach, Des Hasler. Now, Manly were 0-4, and I thought Des was going to get the sack. And then a guy by the name of Tom Trbojevic came out of some beautiful chocolate, and he just went off. Tommy Turbo went off, and I think he saved Dez's job. I think Des is probably in the same section as Brad Arthur. I don't know. Well, what do you reckon?
I absolutely agree. I don't think he's an elite coach. I think potentially you could say that if he had the premiership in his hands.
His career is elite, I reckon.
His definite career. But if we're going off the season we didn't expect too much for the most part from the Seagulls, and they were very high achievers. And look, you blame Tom Trbojevic, but he's still got a very good team together around him, Des. So Des is a quality coach for mine.
He did well too, because most teams who were 0-4 would have just went, "Oh, this is effed."
Think about the forwards that he brought in that we didn't even know their fucking names at the start of the year. Tanela Paseka and what's Hamalu Olakalatu.
Hamoli Olakawatu, yeah, it's another one. Who else is there? He made Sean Kepi a better player. He improved him a lot. Who else did he improve? Dylan Walker played in the middle. I mean, that was I didn't expect that. Jason Saab, I didn't know he was that good of a player. There was so many of them. I mean, Morgan Harper, I didn't even think he was that good of a player as well. So he's definitely done a great job. Manly, for mine, they overachieved a lot. They had a really good year. Would you have him in front of Brad Arthur, or would you have him behind it, Brad Arthur?
I think based off this season, you'd have him in front of Brad Arthur for sure. However, if we're going off the coach's career, I'd put Brad just in front of him, even though Des has had a premiership or two. One?
Yeah, 2008, 2011, yeah.
Yeah, shit, yeah. 2.
Yeah, he's done very well. And plus, he was coaching the Bulldogs in the 2012 grand final and the 2014 grand final. So He knows how to get teams to the big stage. And let's move on to an elite coach. I think we're going to put him in there. Craig Bellamy, Bellyache. Whether you like Melbourne or you hate Melbourne, I couldn't care less. Craig Bellamy is definitely in the elite.
Absolutely. They had the longest NRL or tied the longest NRL win streak with the Roosters of 1970 something this year. So it shows just how bloody good Craig Bellamy is. And he just got the best out of a team that was without Cameron Smith as well.
Oh, it's scary, isn't it? It's frightening. And it was good because their winning streak came to an end by your beloved Parramatta Eels.
Sure did. We beat them 22 points to 10. And it was also not just their win in regards to their streak. It was also a streak of, I think, 30 games at Suncorp Stadium, which is just shit.
I don't like Melbourne, and I think I've made that clear plenty of times. They're probably in my top 3 most hated teams. But I think Craig Bellamy's done another great job this year with Melbourne, obviously finishing in the top 2 once again. I think they choked a little bit in the final series. Probably should have won that prelim against Penrith, but they blew that away. But Melbourne's had a great year, as they always do, and Bellamy's just done a great job. His first year without Cameron Smith since 2003, 2002, something like that. So incredible year from Bellamy. It always is a good year from Bellamy. There's not much more to say about Bellamy. He's an elite coach, and there's not much more you can say about him. He's elite. Yep. All right, let's go to Trent Robinson from the Roosters. We know Trent Robinson's an elite coach. Roosters had plenty of injuries this year. Some would put him in quality, but a lot of injuries on the Roosters this year. I'd probably have him in the elite, bro. What do you reckon?
Oh, I'd have him in the elite for sure. With all those injuries and for the Roosters to be fighting for that. Where did they finish? It's just outside top 4, 5th, wasn't it?
5th.
Yeah, so look, they were fighting for that top 4 towards the end of the season, competing against the big sides still, competing against the likes of Penrith. I'd definitely put him in that elite position. And I think with Keary back, they're a very dangerous side under his coaching next year with the team they've got.
Look out next year, everyone. The Roosters are coming back, so look out. This might sound a little bit controversial, but I would actually have Robbo in front of Ivan Cleary.
Okay. I can see why. I would disagree.
Yeah. I think you could toss the coin between every coach of this year. I think career-wise, you'd have Robbo by a mile. But off this year, for all the adversity the Roosters had to go through, they shouldn't have. With all the injuries the Roosters had, they shouldn't have been anywhere near the top 8. But they did enough to get there. I think most teams would have just fallen off a cliff and just went, this is too hard now. But Robinson, definitely in the elite. Let's go to a coach that I think is under a little bit of pressure going into next year from the Canberra Raiders, Ricky Stewart. Canberra didn't make the finals. I think they are the most disappointing team from the 2021 NRL season. Ricky Stewart did not have a good year as head coach for the Raiders. Disappointing year for Canberra, actually, overall. Where would you have Ricky Stewart on this list?
This is a very tricky one because I know Canberra didn't play finals, but I still thought as a coach that he had an all right year. It's between decent and very average, but I think it's pretty harsh to put him down there with Kevin Walters. I'm going to put him on the very, very lowest of whatever we have for decent coach. Okay, the only thing with Ricky and the fact that he does it with, like Todd Payton does, putting players out of their key positions, I think he put Tarpany in the front row and he was putting Starling on the bench with 10 minutes to go when he provides so much impact. So I think he probably off the season could be in very average, but I think he's the bottom of the decent.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Anthony Griffin goes in front of him as well. Definitely in front of Kevin Walters. I know Canberra didn't have a good year, but Ricky Stewart, I think the way he used Josh Papali as well wasn't really good. You know, you watched Josh Papali this year, or Josh Papali'i, whatever his last name is. It's hard to bloody pronounce. But the way he used him this year was a little bit weird. I thought the last 2 years, Josh Papali'i was probably the best prop in the game. And then this year, I think the way he used Josh Papali'i just probably wasn't the way he would normally use him. It was a bit like the way Todd Payton used Tamalolo. It just I don't know, it just didn't work for some reason. I don't know what the go is there, but the Raiders, they should have done better. I think we all know that. They should have been better than where they were. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next year, but I think Ricky Stewart had a bit of a disappointing year, so we'll put him in decent. Let's go to the Knights. Adam O'Brien from the Newcastle Knights. Now, Adam O'Brien's going to get a good rating from me because ever since he took over the Knights head coaching job, he has got them to the finals in 2020 and in 2021 in 7th spot both years. Yes, they didn't win a final, but to get a team to the finals in your first 2 years as head coach, 100% record in getting his team to the top 8 is a very good record for Adam O'Brien. Now, I know this is going to sound ridiculous. I would have Adam O'Brien just behind Brad Arthur in quality. I think he's done a great job.
I'm gonna put him in decent just because of that the finals rate, even though they haven't won a game. This is I hate to say this, and someone's gonna clip this, but I don't like Adam O'Brien at all.
Oh,
I think
no.
he's an all right coach. I would probably say on this list he's probably my least favorite coach.
Okay,
I don't like the way that he speaks to his players. I don't like the players that back up for those injured. When Tex Hoy is probably all right, but there's some other choices that have been thrown in when others are injured, not only out of key positions, but just aren't very good. And I'm going to put him in decent, but is he better than Ricky Stewart? For me, probably not. So if you want to put him in quality, you can.
I'll tell you what.
Decent.
Let's put him just in front of Anthony Griffin in decent. Let's put him there.
Let's do it.
I like Adam O'Brien. I know you don't like him, and I see what you mean. He does come off as a pretty angry coach, and he does seem to go off a fair bit. But I just think with Newcastle the last 2 years, making the finals, getting there again this year. Ponga was out injured for a while and stuff. They had a lot of injuries again. The 5'8", I mean, they had Kurt Mann there. They had all sorts of players playing 5'8". Then they had Jay Clifford go there. I'm really interested to see how Adam O'Brien goes with Mitchell Pearce not being there now. He's going over to Catalans, and I think Jay Clifford's going to be their main halfback. So I wonder how he goes. If Adam O'Brien can still get Newcastle to the finals next year without Mitchell Pearce even being there, then I am willing to put Adam O'Brien really high. But
Is he going to sign Corey Norman?
If I sign Corey Norman, they can enjoy the bottom 4 with some chocolate cake because that's where they'll be if I get Corey Norman. But yeah, he's going in the decent section, man. I like Adam O'Brien.
Sam Revel says, House, you're speaking hard truths. I agree with you. So someone does agree with me about even the way that he does the press conferences after a loss. He is
a bit shitty, eh?
Yeah, I'm not a fan at all. And I remember one time, I'm happy to meet coaches. I remember one time, and I didn't even ask for a photo. I just...
Yeah. No, Adam O'Brien, his Fox League interviews before the games are always a bit like, he's like, oh, geez, I don't want to do this. But he just does it anyway because he's getting paid more money. But decent coach, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next year in his 3rd year as head coach for the Knights. Let's move on to a coach that was an interim coach this year, pretty much. John Morris got the sack, which I still think was a disgusting decision from the Sharks. I find it funny how you can get a team to the finals for 2 years in a row and then get sacked after about 10 rounds. I find that ridiculous. So poor John Morris. But the Sharks coach, who was it? Who was coaching him? Fucking Josh Hannay. Josh Hannay. So we're going to use Josh Hannay here as John Morris. Where would you have Josh Hannay?
Oh, well, I know the Sharks, they had an okay season. Wasn't great, though. A lot of people
disappointing for mine.
To miss. Yeah, a lot of people expected them, including myself, to miss final. They've finally done it. They've broken that little hoodoo of making final for the last couple of years. Josh Hannay bought some good games out of players, but overall, I didn't think much of his season. So I'm actually going to put him with Kevin Walters in
Yeah,
the
me
very
too.
average coach. I
In
don't
front
think
of,
he was
in front
decent
or
enough.
behind?
This is hard because I feel like at the start of the season, the Sharks were all right, and I'd put Kevin Walters at the back and Josh Hannay at the front. If we're going off the end of the season, though, I'm going Kevin Walters and Josh Hannay. So we're at the end of 2021. Let's go with Kevin Walters and then Josh Hannay at the back.
Well, the fact that he doesn't have a coaching position for next year, I think he's the assistant coach over at the Sharks next year, actually. I'm pretty sure he's going to be assistant there next year. Pretty sure it's Fitzgibbon's coach, and then I think it's Josh Hannay, and I think what's his name? Steve Price from Warrington's going to be the assistant coach as well with the Sharks. So Josh Hannay, I think he may be able to get a head coaching role somewhere in the future. You never know. He's done plenty of interim head coaching jobs now, but I think he's average as well. Not really
Give
a big fan
Tuvey
of
a
him.
job first.
Yeah, poor Tubes. He's just sitting back on NRL.com. It was Jamie Soward just chilling out there. Bloody poor Tubes. Give Tubes a job, someone. I'll take him. See you later, Todd Payton. I love him. All right, let's move on to the Bunnies head coach from this year, Wayne Bennett. The Bunnies, they had a good year. A lot of people were just waiting for South to fall off a cliff, and it just never happened, really. They had a great year, obviously making the grand final, losing in an absolute classic game. I think Wayne Bennett's in the elite section, mate. What do you think?
Absolutely. He's one of my favourite coaches of all time, and we saw this year for a reason. He played mind games in 2021, winding back the clock. The Rabbitohs made that grand final appearance. A lot of people put the Rabbitohs as like grand finalists against, I think, the Storm at the start of the year. And look, they made the grand final. They had a fantastic season. Their defense definitely needs work, and they lose a few players. But is Wayne Bennett? That was his final year. Yeah, he heads to Redcliffe now, so it's an exciting, or the Dolphins. It's an exciting next chapter for Wayne. He's going to be immortal, but
no
elite coach for sure.
No doubt. And I know this might sound a bit dumb or a bit ridiculous for some people, but I'm putting Wayne Bennett right behind Bellyache at number 2. He gets teams. He just knows how to get teams up to that next level.
I think I would, just because of the points that the Rabbitohs scored in their attack.
Oh, yeah.
I have to say, though, the Roosters defensively were pretty damn good for their injuries.
They were good.
They weren't conceding too much besides against Penrith and Melbourne when they were kept pretty much scoreless. But I can understand why you're doing that. But I'd say that they are pretty even, those two.
Yeah. Robinson and Bennett could literally be any other way. You know, I want to say as well, with the top 4 we got at the moment with Bellyache, Wayne, Robbo, and Ivan Cleary, you could literally switch them in any order you want, and I'd have no problem with you. You could literally swip it around, except I think if Bellamy's not in the top 2, I think you're off your head a little bit. But I think that top 4 is pretty much how it's going to remain. All right, let's go to the team that I dislike the most, the Gold Coast Titans. But Justin Holbrook, I think he's a great coach. Obviously, I watched him at St. Helens in the Super League, winning a few premierships over there with St. Helens with that stacked team that they have. Coming over to the Gold Coast, his second year, the Gold Coast make the finals in one of the most craziest ways I've ever seen. They needed 2 teams to lose, and they had to win by a certain margin, and they ended up doing that, which was incredible. They got into the top 8. I don't know about you, Hayden, but with the Gold Coast, I know I wrote them off at the start of the year, and I have to get a tattoo, which I still haven't done, but I will be getting that done before the end of the year anyway. I would have Justin Holbrook probably just behind Brad Arthur.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's quality.
I was very tempted to say that I'd have him between Adam O'Brien and Anthony Griffin, but you know what? I think I'm going to agree with you. I think he is a pretty quality coach. He's shown at the Super League he can be successful, and I think he's a very underrated genius. I think he
is.
I didn't like David Fafita coming off the bench and a few of the decisions that were being made for backups. They've done a hell of a job. So I don't blame you. Let's go. Let's put him in quality. I'm
And
surprised you've done it, but I'm glad.
look, everyone knows how I feel about the Gold Coast. I can't stand them. I wish they would lose every week and get the wooden spoon every week, every year. But Holbrook's done a great job, man. I mean, if you go back in time a little bit, 2019, right? The Titans had one of the worst seasons in their entire history. And there were talks about them getting kicked out. There were talks about them, they're not going to do anything. We should just get rid of them now and bring someone else in. And his first year as head coach there for the Titans, yeah, they started the year terrible in 2020. It was terrible. And then they missed the finals by 2 games or something in 2020. They had a great win streak at the end of the year. And then this year, lots of hype, had some good stuff and bad stuff. And then they got into the top 8 and they were one pass away from beating the Roosters in an elimination final, which they probably should have won. Now you go back and watch the last 20 seconds of that game, they should have won. So he's done an incredible job in his short term there. And after what the Titans did this year, I think he's very safe for his job, and I think he's quality, man.
Yep.
He was gone. Like, the Titans were gone 2 years ago. They were about to be booted. They were dead. And then he comes in and look what he done. Saved them.
He's been revelation for the club. I mentioned he's a little genius. He's got. I'm no way comparing him to Wayne Bennett, but I tell you what, he's got shades of him in him. If he can be successful, whether it be with the Titans or who it is, he's got some very tricks up the sleeve, and I like him a lot.
And to people out there that want to say, "Oh, the Super League sucks, it's shit," well, how about you suck my toes? A coach from the Super League came to the NRL and got a team into the finals. Yeah, it's totally a shit competition. Yeah, some people want to bag it all the time. Yeah, what a joke that is. All right, let's move on to the Bulldogs. Trent Barrett obviously wins the wooden spoon his first year as head coach. I am not a big fan of Trent Barrett as head coach. I think he's had plenty of opportunities in the past with the Seagulls. He almost got them their first wooden spoon. I know the Bulldogs roster wasn't the best, but they should have probably done better than what they did this year. Where would you have Trent Barrett on this list?
I've got to put him down there with Madge and Todd Payton. I'm putting him as terrible coach. I'm looking forward to the Bulldogs in 2022. Fantastic roster. How will the coaching of Trent Barrett that we've seen fail with other clubs go? I think he can be better. I feel like he might be around decent. He definitely won't be near quality or elite next year.
No way.
He could be that Anthony Griffin type of coach, so we'll wait and see. But unfortunately, Trent Barrett, I'm putting you under terrible coach, especially on the season you had.
I can't see Trent Barrett becoming a quality or an elite coach unless the Bulldogs win the comp next year from some miracle. Matt Burton for Dally M or something. I'm not too sure. But, the Dogs were terrible. And unfortunately, the coaches, they get all the blame all the time. And, I'm not a big fan of Trent Barrett, man. I think he's got a lot to learn as a coach. I think maybe he should have spent a couple more years as an assistant coach. He had a terrible year. If it's your first year as head coach and you get the wooden spoon, you're instantly going to be in the terrible section. So, unfortunately for Trent Barrett, he's going in the terrible. And the final coach is one where I think there's 2 spots for him. The Warriors head coach, Nathan Brown. Now, Brownie, he knows how to rebuild clubs. We saw it at Newcastle. He rebuilt them pretty well after a couple of years. The Warriors have had it tough. We know that for a fact with the sacrifices they've had to make and all that situation. Been away from New Zealand for a long time now. I think Nathan Brown is either probably just behind Ricky Stewart or is maybe just in front of Kevin Walters. I think he's in front of Kevin Walters at very average. What do you think about Nathan Brown?
I'm going to agree with you. I'm glad you said it. I think he's just above Kevin Walters in very average. I personally have him very close to terrible. Now, that's just because of the finals record and things. But you mentioned the rebuild. We saw Ben Murdoch-Marcilla. We saw Adam Fanua-Blake, some great buys for the Warriors. We saw some fantastic players. I think Ponga was under him for the Newcastle Knights as well. So, look, I don't think he is a decent coach by any means. He's not a horrible coach, not a terrible coach, sorry. So I think very average, and I feel like it's perfect to put him just above Kevin Walters as he's had that experience and had that chance and opportunity over the years as well.
Yeah. I've been saying this for years. The Warriors, we need the New Zealand Warriors to do well. We need them to be in the top 8. We need them to be in the finals. You know, I'm sick and tired every year the season ends. I'm looking at the ladder, and the Warriors are either somewhere between 10th and 14th. I'm just sick of looking at that. New Zealand Warriors, I know you've been away from your home in New Zealand for a long time, but for God's sakes, make the goddamn top 8 and do something.
I'm sick of checking my phone and going, oh, Warriors 16-0. And then 10 minutes later, I come back, fucking Tigers 18-16 over the Warriors. It happens too often.
How about the game this year where it was 18-6 Warriors and there's 8 minutes to go? You're looking at it on your phone like, oh, yeah, it's game over. And then you check it, and it's like, oh, shit, extra time. And then it's like, oh, fuck, they lost again. They blew it. But I will say this. When the Warriors are getting flogged, they always keep fighting. And I remember the game against Canberra in round 3. I think Canberra led 31-10 in Canberra on a Saturday afternoon. And I'm watching the game and I'm going, this game is over, O-V-E-R. And then I see a couple, I'm like, here we go, a couple of tries here. And then they end up winning the game 34-31. So even when they're getting flogged, they keep fighting to the end, which is something I like about the Warriors.
I liked the debutants that came under Nathan Brown in
a lot of good kids too,
and Reece Walsh. I think that game where they debuted against the Storm, they conceded 40 points, but they still scored 24 against a very quality side. So
yes,
I feel like we're being a bit harsh to Brownie, but I think it's fair.
He's on the up. He has to be on the up. I mean, Rocco Berry, I'm a big fan of that kid, man. He can be anything. Reece Walsh, if he stays away from the cocaine, he could be anything as well. What's that big winger called? Edward Cossey, another good young kid coming through.
Adam
Pompey goes pretty well. He does his job very well. Who else I got there? Bunty Afoa's another really good, solid bench player. Does his job pretty well. Eli Katoa's good. They've got some real good kids. Oh, Josh Curran, underrated as hell. Another good
Very
kid.
good back half of the season for Josh Curran, yeah.
He's not even a kid. I think he's like 25. He's been playing football for ages. He used to play for the Roosters, I believe. So plenty of good talent there at the Warriors. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. But Nathan Brown, they missed the finals. They probably should have done a little bit better. But again, can the Warriors stop finishing between 10th and 14th and actually do something? Come on, Warriors. They get Sean Johnson there next year, and they get, a bit of a different look side. So hopefully they do better next year. So Nathan Brown's going in the very average coach. Now that we've done the list, do we want to make any changes? We'll start with the top. I'm happy with the top 4.
Would you make any changes with the top 4? And I can't see anyone overtaking Des between Braddon and Holbrook. So I think
we've got the top 4. Top 4 is pretty good. And then we got Des in 5th, Brad Arthur 6th, Holbrook 7, Adam O'Brien in 8th, and then Griffin and Ricky Stewart rounding out the top 10.
Pretty good.
And then we got Brownie, Walters, who was it? Josh Hannay, Madge, Barrett, and Todd Payton. Would you have Todd Payton in front of Trent Barrett, or would you leave Todd Payton last?
It's very tough because I think the Cowboys defensively had a worse year than the Bulldogs. Their defense is fucking toilet paper.
Oh, made me sick.
So for that reason, I'm gonna put Todd Payton as my pick for the worst coach of the year.
Oh, he's the worst coach, right? I'd love to kick him as well.
It's crazy because you said at the start, and I kind of laughed at you. But the more I think about it, I think I'm going to keep him there.
I don't know, man. It's just you've got Tamalolo, you've got Val Holmes, you've got a lot of these big name players. If you can't get the best out of them, then you're not doing your job properly. Simple as that.
Exactly.
And I think going into next year, that the Hammer needs to be at fullback no matter what. I don't care. Hammer has to be fullback. Otherwise, we'll lose Hammer. So I think this list is pretty good. I can't think of any more changes. I'm happy where everyone is. Brad Arthur and Des Hazard could be swapped any way you want it to, really. It's literally flip a coin. And then I think you've got – I think the gap as well, bro, like the the top 4 coaches, I think there's a big gap there. Des is pretty close to top 4 as well for mine. But I think Brad Arthur, Holbrook, and Adam O'Brien are pretty close to each other. I think Brad Arthur gets the advantage because of what Parramatta have done the last couple of years, but I think everything's pretty good.
Yep, I think we've done pretty good. We've had a few changes as we went, but
always will make changes, no matter. Always will make a few changes, but I think I'm pretty happy with the list. I'm pretty pleased with it. All right, well, I reckon that might wrap it up. Entertain House, thanks for coming on the show, mate. I really appreciate it. You're welcome anytime, as always, as you would know by now. But come on at any stage, bro. Thanks for coming on for the coaches.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it, and thanks to the chat for being very responsive tonight.
Yeah, the chat was very good. I know there's a couple of dickheads from last night, but it's a shame they weren't here tonight. They're probably shoving their cock in a fucking elevator or something. I'm not too sure what they were doing, but I'm surprised they weren't here because I was expecting it, but probably too busy putting their dick in an elevator or something. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Have a good Friday night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night for another live stream. Till then, see you later. Have a good night, fellas. See you tomorrow.